look like the slightly stronger team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As we do head on into the Rift now, getting our nice little cinematic, and I really want to look out for this level 1. I feel like Impunity are going to have to find where this Scion goes, because as we saw yesterday, a game can become really, really difficult if you don't sort of get that correct lane sort of matchups. And Scion, as we touched on yesterday, has a really, really good 2v1 in comparison to almost any other champ.
Doesn't look like there'll be any lane swaps. I think probably just fine with how the matchups are going to go. You know, yesterday it was playing against, I think it was a double range bot lane. Wanted to try avoid that. It's actually first strike taken on Mission, which I guess is saying, you know, doesn't want the area for lane and perhaps doesn't want the phase rush for the movement speed. Instead, just confident enough to go for the first strike. And Orianna, after all the buffs, is a bit weaker in lane, but certainly scales extremely well. Actually, Doran's shield on Pretender after the nerf, feel like is a bit, I'm gonna say insecure on the Jace.
Yeah, and you don't feel all that pressured a lot of the time against Orianna, I feel. It's not like she does have good range, but it's not that amazing, and her damage early game is quite low. And once you see the first strike as well, you're probably not expecting to receive as much poke as you would with the Aerie. But here we do see Hollow starting down on the red side, while Alex is starting his Raptors up top.
Yeah, okay, so different paths once again. Will anything actually happen in the lanes early? I'm kind of not thinking so. I feel like it's up to Hollow to make something happen. And if nothing happens, I feel like Impunity, you know, scale extremely well. I mean, you got Ori, Ophelia's GP as your carries, and even Gragas honestly scales quite well. On the side of Frank Esports, right, you've got the Xayah, Jace poke if it connects. And Scion honestly won't be that tanky this game, I don't think. There's really just a lot of tank killers on the other side. But will be interesting to see kind of where he goes.
Yeah, there's a fantastic trade there onto Mission in the mid lane by Pretender. Edging out early, getting that level 2 and really making use of it.
Mission, though, does have the Corrupting Potion, so can kind of sustain through it. Definitely not going to be the end of stuff there. But the Phase Rush, I think, yeah, allowed him to get a lot of extra autos with the Jace, which is certainly nice.
Right, and we do have Dark Harvest again on the Gragas. We saw Comet earlier today and Dark Harvest yesterday, so I imagine we will see the Night Harvester. Although I kind of am curious about the the green jungle pet. I feel like maybe with the damage, the red one offers, you know, just a little bit more damage, a bit more oomph. But yeah, choosing to go for that more tanky, more survivability with the green pet.
I think perhaps just wants to act as the front line for his team, right? You've got such a strong backline here with Ori Ophelia's gangplank that if you can just keep them alive, they'll certainly deal the damage necessary. And Mission as well, always such a stable AP threat that you probably don't feel the need to bring AP damage to the team. Obviously we'll bring some anyway, but perhaps not required.
Absolutely, and we do so far see Driver taking a bit of a CS loss early, and Solo Kill getting a lot of damage onto him actually. So very well done here by Solo in the top lane.
It is a nice start, but I feel like Gangplank always pulls ahead in gold, right? Ooh, although...
As Hollow comes in, looking for first blood, Driver does escape on a little bit, has oranges to get a little bit of the health back, also has a cookie. He does seem like he's going to opt to stay, I guess not wanting to lose those minions, although he is recalling now.
I think forced in the reset here. The wave is pushing out, so if he tries to contest this so low on HP, will probably end up dying and actually might need some jungle help for pushing out that wave. Although if Hollow shows mid, which he will, Driver should be able to push out now.
Absolutely, and nice dodge there by Mission, although he is very low on mana. Does get hit by the spear, and Hollow hasn't got any kills, but has gone both top and mid, and really chunked out those laners.
It's nice pressure applied, for sure. It's a good start, but probably still needs to find more, right? The scaling there is just too strong, but if he can kind of swing those lanes just a little bit in Frank Esports' favor, can perhaps convert that into a larger lead somewhere else.
He is hitting bot. I imagine he was spotted out by that vision. Gragas up the top side, so we do have pretty much this whole game junglers on opposite sides of the map. Atlan has been engaged on by Kaiwing, however, does get extremely low. Ignite is used. Nature's stunned up, does get away, but that's a fantastic trade by Frank Esports, and you got to think it's set them up now. Probably going to get this dragon.
Hollow might actually be able to come over the wall and get more. I think really nice trades here from Frank Esports bot lane. Alan has the cleanse, but no flash.
Oh, flash is a little bit too late there on Nature, and he is stunned up. Will go down there. First blood to Hollow.
It's a very good pickup by the side of Frank Esports, and I have to say, Impunity's bot lane, Atlan and Nature, just misplayed, right? We kind of saw this earlier in the day. Too heavy trading when your jungler is too far away, and ultimately are just punished for it, and perhaps give Frank Esports the way that they kind of need to get into this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I feel like if you're going to commit the flash, you may as well just commit it early there, because obviously he does it a little bit too long. The Zenith Blade locks in, and then you're just dead.
Was a little bit too late. Now, it isn't anything more than the kill picked up, but it is a very important kill, right? Let's take a look at the replay. So I think initially, the wave is pushing to Impunity. They don't need to contest this wave super hard. The Atlan, he gets engaged on, loses the cleanse, and loses his entire health bar for it. I really think Gragas is on top side here. You can just not trade. You know, you can just position a bit further back, right? The wave's pushing to you. But because of that trade, it just sets up Frank Esports to just come through here and end up taking out Nature as well as force Atlan away from the wave. And in the live game, Driver might be getting dived too.
Yeah, looking like a three-man dive up here. Looking for Sion, does start tanking. Flash away from Driver, but it looks like he's going to get stunned up here under the tower. It is a bit messy, but we do have... Oh my goodness, it's taking forever. He does eventually go down. Good work by Solo Kill there, just tanking the tower, but... And we're going to see it repeated on the bot side. Stunned up by Eminem. Atlan will receive that kill, so just a trade on either side. Alex only just living...
Wow, okay, again, big trades across the board. I actually think this is slightly better for Impunity. I really hope we get to see a replay on that top dive, because I think the way Driver played it was actually very, very smart. Mission, he's getting chunked a little low here. Probably is going to be forced to reset. Doesn't have TP, so actually it's going to end up missing a wave, probably. Which doesn't feel too good. Oh, actually stays, okay.
And on the back of those dives, we do see one plate going to both Sion and Aphelios there, and you do have to preference the plate onto your Aphelios, right? That champ scales so incredibly hard. We'll be able to take on the Sion as the game progresses.
I think as well, like, take a look at the ADCS, right? Despite the fact that Allen got denied a wave on that initial dive, actually manages to deny one back onto Eminem and puts himself in a pretty good spot. I feel like we might not end up seeing a replay of this top dive, but I just want to bring it up. The Driver, you know, throughout that whole dive, he was playing for that level 6, right? He flashed initially, just got the minion XP, and then just barely hit 6 at the end. And that allowed him to actually clear out the wave with his ult, which means while, yeah, you die, you pick up the wave.
Flash Initiate here lands onto Atlan. Atlan does flash away as well. He does have the correct guns for fighting here, but ultimately Ignite is burned onto him. He does get chunked out very high. Red gun sort of allows him to sustain back up as Honeyfruit's taken here by Frank Esports.
I'm not sure if Alan needed to flash, and I think that's another cooldown now that can look to be punished. You're right, I think can just lifesteal back up, so probably won't be anything else coming of that. But it is a flash down, which feels bad. Now, Herald is up, and I think with the plates already taken topside, if you can get this Herald, it does definitely help Frank Esports accelerate to the lead that they need. There will be a trade, though. Yeah,
Impunity looking bot again. So every time we see this Nidalee on top side, Alex is on bottom side ready to answer with something. In this case, not the Dragon, looking to just deny the Xayah more and more farm. Pretender is running on. I feel like he missed a few auto attacks there, but Phase Rush keeps him up, and Mission has lost a lot of his health again. Holo coming in behind.
I think he was trying to get that knockback onto Mission. Mission actually in trouble. And perhaps walk this one out. Ooh, steps on a trap. Might have to flash. Ooh, okay, actually just gets out. I think Holo perhaps scared to chase into the fog there. Mission dodges another spear. Very, very nice.
Yeah, maybe not wanting to give up his tempo, and also he has a shutdown, so I think it's smart by him. There is a chance he would have killed him, but also Alex being in such close proximity, probably not worth the risk.
Looks like Dragon will be started up here from Holo. Has secured the first Herald already and is perhaps now going to pick up the first Dragon as well. Where will this Herald end up going? I'm thinking probably bot. Just try and get some gold on Desire, because while you can get the plates top, is Sion going to be the most impactful in this game? Feels like perhaps not.
Yeah, I do tend to agree with you. There's also maybe you give it to mid and get Pretender. Pretender obviously, he hasn't gained that much of a lead, which I'm kind of surprised by considering how much he's chunked out Mission over and over again. But maybe some gold on this Jace. We've seen Jace earlier today really take over.
And Solikill finds himself with a pretty nice CS lead here. Obviously did get counterpicked, but has had a lot of pressure put towards him. You know, did kind of receive ganks from both his jungler and support, which has put him in a nice spot here. I still think overall, while Frank Esports are starting to build up the lead they need, I think Impunity still kind of remain within touching distance, right? They're still definitely, I would say, in the better spot, right? You've got the scaling on Atlan already, and Xayah, which is kind of your guaranteed scaling here for Frank Esports, is the one actually falling behind. So I still sort of favor Impunity in this game right now, but it can, especially with the Herald, you know, snowball to a pretty big lead pretty fast. And Holo, top of the gold charts, definitely where you want to see your Nidalee compared to earlier today where we saw it, you know, almost at the bottom.
Absolutely, and we do see an initiation. Massive solar flare lands on both Atlan and Nature as Sion is coming in. Atlan will escape with one. No, he will not. The flash shield explode from solo kill does get secure the double kill there. One for Eminem and one for solo kill. So massive trade, and you really like that for the Xayah.
I think that's insane play there from solo kill, right? Just goes from base and then ults, flashes bot. Mission should be fine here. I think if he just flashes over the wall, yep, we'll most likely get out. But yeah, big play from solo kill. Gets that lead top and actually plays it or pays it back to bot. So Impunity's bot lane once again just kind of losing the 2v2, right? Obviously Driver cleans it up, but I think here was just engaged on by Kaiwing. He's one of the best melee support players in the region for a reason. Just so much damage traded over. Alan is already dead before this basically even starts. Driver does come through and last hit him. But I think even before that, the damage is already done.
Absolutely, yeah. That's crazy way for that bot lane to have gone. And Kaiwing's initiation there was phenomenal. He really, he got two people locked up, which allowed for the Featherstorm to then lock them up again. And just so much damage came down onto Atlan, he never even had a chance to even auto once.
It looks like during that time as well, the Herald was dropped on mid lane, so a bit of gold going over to Pretender, and also trying to get rid of that mid tower, at least in the future, especially if they can pick up the second drag here. And Mission, while he is scaling nicely, hasn't had a lot of priority in this lane, and not something you normally see out of Mission. Obviously, he's got the very scaling build, right, with the first strike, but it's kind of known for winning a lot of these range versus range matchups, so certainly not something we normally see.
Yeah, both solo laners here for Frank Esports really doing what they need to do, and especially for Solo Q, being able to turn this massive lead he's sort of accumulated himself top, although there was a three-man dive. He's really turned that into more pressure around the map, and yeah, as you said earlier, he's paid back, when he went for the three-man dive, Eminem got three-man dive, and he's paid that back, if not, with interest.
Certainly has. Now Eminem finding himself at the mythic advantage over his opponent. Mission's getting very low, does not have flash, can definitely die here to the roam from Kaiwing.
Kaiwing looking, but Alex will spot it out, so good job by him. Body slams away from that spear.
Now Mission, they should be able to keep this tower up, and most likely will be able to complete the Ludens in time for this next drag. Also hasn't gone for the tier build, which is kind of interesting. I think most Orianas do tend to prefer the Seraphs, at least on this patch, but perhaps wants to go for something like the Luden Shadowflame. I also think Ludens is a little weird up against the Sion and the Leona. So kind of curious itemization, but obviously will do a lot of damage to these three squishies in the Nidalee, Jason, Xayah. And 1 minute on the drag, right? Mythic not yet completed for Mission or Atlan. I feel like if you can't complete those in time, probably just don't want to contest. You can give over another one and still be very happy just to scale.
We do see a serrated Dirk on Jay, so I imagine that will be the Eclipse build this game instead of that Gore Drinker. And I don't know exactly what the thoughts are behind it. Obviously, the Gore Drinker has looked extremely strong in the last two Jace appearances we've seen. What do you reckon is his thoughts behind it? Do you think he just sees quite a few squishy targets like Gangplank, Gragas is building AP, Oriana, and the Aphelios all being quite squishy, so he just wants that lethality?
Yeah, I think it's just the amount of squishies, and also probably feels that there isn't a whole lot of threat onto him as long as he avoids the Oriana ult. Holo is spotted out nice and early. Mythic is now completed for Mission, so can perhaps look to fight.
Yeah, trying to clear out some wars here on the bot side, but it does look like Frank Esports have just complete control over here.
Yeah, Alex actually getting aggressive. I feel like, okay,
oh my goodness, good flash engage. Gets the Nautilus ult and the explosive cast onto Holo, who is then hooked. He's just been stun locked the entire time, and that's a shutdown onto Mission. Huge person to get that shutdown. He's going to be really able to delay this game if need be and get a lot of power into these team fights.
I think that was an insane play from Alex. Like you said, now it delays the game a lot, which is certainly good for them as well as getting the kill onto Mission. I thought that was a dragon that Impunity were going to have to give up with Atlan not having the Mythic, but Alex just comes out, absolutely smurfs it, and just picks out Holo for free.
Yeah, looking for an engage onto Kaiwing, but Hook misses, so I don't suspect they'll go for it. Pretender is coming down, possibly to look at some sort of poke, as Nidalee is coming, one of the faster champs to sort of run from base to anything. Shock Blast goes wide.
Oh, they're still wanting to fight.
And Aphelios does have the fun guns. Initiation lands onto Atlan, however, and he is just deleted by the Featherstorm. Pretender really up there, phase rushing in, flash onto Alex. Bit of a weird interaction with that wall there, but Alex does go down, as well as Nature down on the bottom outside of our screens.
The wall does actually disappear due to the Infernal Dragon, and I mean, off the back of that, I think Frank Esports is actually pretty happy, right? You don't really care too much about the Dragon being given over if you can get that much gold. Mission did ult, but honestly just didn't have enough damage, so I think Impunity, once they got out of here, or once they got the drag, perhaps could have just disengaged a little cleaner. Perhaps we just sent Alex to kind of block this. Instead, they're actually just all locked up. And despite the Oriole going on to 3 people here, it just isn't enough. And also the Infernal Dragon kind of means Alex dies, right? The wall disappears. So yeah, while the Dragon did go over Impunity, which buys them time for scaling, a massive lead there for Frank Esports. Now 4,000 gold up.
Right, and although Impunity do have scaling, I'm starting to really favour this Frank Esports teams. Dragons are 1-1, so there's still a lot of time before that sort of win condition. But Baron not too far away. 3 minutes until that will be spawning. There's also the Rift Herald here to be claimed. It looks like Hollow is on that side of the map as well. It can very quickly get out of hand.
Yeah, I think this is definitely getting to the point where the gold lead could end up being too much, right? Like, I still think Impunity can certainly scale into this game, especially with their double first strike users, but this is kind of the tipping point that Frank Esports have reached, right? Can they snowball this into even more, or is giving over that Dragon just going to allow Impunity too much time to scale up into those kind of core items that they need?
Yes, Herald does go down here for the side of Frank Esports.
The mid-wave will be pushed in here by Frank Esports. Top tower as well, going to go down pretty soon. So, I mean, Frank Esports doing a good job, at least for now, of snowballing this lead. I think with having the Herald, could get a little more on one of these side lanes. The bot tier 1 remains alive.
3 people are headed down there, though, as we do see trades going on in the top lane. Good dodge out by Driver, but it looks like Mission might just die here. Hex Flash over for Kai. Oh, no, Hex Flash is that way. Solar Flare does miss. Scion ult hits. Devastating Slash won't make it. 3-man knockup, but I'm not sure exactly what his thoughts were there, because he was never killing all 3 of them.
I kind of respect the play, but unfortunately just does not have the damage to do it. Now, will be a mid-tower potentially traded over. It looks like they can't quite get it. The wave is cleared out. So yeah, Frank Esports, they are one of the best early game teams in the league, I think in terms of stats at least, and are finding themselves with a pretty significant gold lead over Impunity, but you can't count Impunity out, right? Not only do they have the scaling, but they're also just a team that's very good at team fighting, just as players. I do think the itemization from Mission is very weird. I feel like no Leandries, no Void Staff is questionable here, to say the least, right? There's a lot of health stacking, as well as a lot of MR coming in very, very early.
Yeah, and as that Orianna against the Scion with Juxo, you can't really see him really having any effect whatsoever against it.
Driver, can he clear this? Does not have the ult because he burned it bot. Looks like the tower will just go down. Frank Esports find themselves with that 6k gold lead, and we haven't seen many teams come back from this sort of deficit. It has happened a couple times with just like mega outscaling, but I think Frank Esports, they're probably a good enough team that they're not going to let this lead just go to waste.
Yeah, and on the side of Impunity, you do have a very good amount of sort of wave clear, right? Like, Gangplank wave clear is amazing, Orianna's is very good, and even Gragas offers a lot. As well as Aphelios, if he has that blue gun, does do a lot for wave clear too. As it looks like Aphelios is getting awfully close to Kaiwing, but will just walk away. Nice tower picked up here by Mission.
Yeah, so a little bit of gold traded back. And I think if you're Impunity, you give up at least the next drag and probably the one after it too. Really just try and buy some time to scale. With Mission bot though, the mid tier 2 is left undefended. I actually think it might die. GPL comes through.
Moonlight Vigil goes wide. Nature is walking forward. Does go for the hook but won't land. Alex on a flank here onto Kaiwing. He is stunned up. Flashes away. We have Scion right next to the tower, but with Jackshow procced, he doesn't do any damage against him. Driver rooted up by the feathers. Orianna, the solo kill is taking absolutely every ability they have and losing no health whatsoever. And now it's just going to be the inner tower going down.
It is, and I think solo kill just way too strong in this fight. The carries don't have the necessary items to deal with it, right? I think the Orianna build certainly not built for killing Sion. Natlin as well, just too weak at the moment to really offer anything damage-wise onto the Sion. So this should be the second drag now picked up by Frank Esports. And Impunity, you can potentially give over one more dragon after this. But time is sort of running out, right? You've got to hit your spikes, especially if Baron ends up getting looked at.
Yeah, this gold lead looks to be quite like 6k gold until that last fight, and now it's 8k gold. You're really sort of having to find... Oh, no, sorry, it is still 6k gold, but you're really having to find something... You have to find an in, because I feel like Aphelios isn't really going to be online until he finishes his Bloodthirster to avoid some of that poke, and then he's going to need the IE on top of that to really have an impact on this game.
There's even potentially the LDR beyond that, right? So much armor coming in from solo kill on the side, and I think there's just a lot of questions being asked of the Impunity itemization here that it's going to be tough to answer them all, you know, in time for what is most likely a 4th dragon fight or even a Baron that could be looked at by Frank Esports. I mean, you've got the Sion, so you can just tank it up forever.
Certainly can. There is one sort of massive saving grace as we see Kaiwing go and Solar Flare land on Alex. Alex is just immediately killed here. Nature does have to hook away. And now there's pressure over this Baron. I imagine they'll start it up. See what Impunity can do to stop it. Gangplank is bot. I'll see if he does channel teleport. Gangplank is one of the best champions at sort of stopping these Barons.
And Oriol as well.
Eminem getting quite low from the cannon barrage.
Solo kill though, taking no damage whatsoever.
Atlan does not hit, but it is traded for Featherstorm. Flash initiation here from Kaiwing. Orianna does secure the Baron for Impunity as Pretender runs away. Now your job as Impunity is to get away. All you need to do is run away from this. Nature trying. Atlan does turn around. He doesn't get slowed up, so it looks like 3 members will survive, and Mission does steal the Baron.
That is insane for Impunity. I think if that Baron goes over, the game is almost certainly done. I think Frank Esports would just be able to snowball so far ahead off that. A Driver actually just finds Hollow.
Driver just finds Hollow trying to take the Raptors.
Okay, so what was once a 6k gold lead is now only 4k. Can he get out? He does. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, massive there from both the Impunity solo laners. Mission steals the Baron, and then Driver just somehow yoinks a kill off the back end. So let's take a look at the replay. Like we said, Orianna and GP, 2 of the best champs in stopping Baron. The GP ult comes out early, which forces Eminem to stop DPS. The solo kill is so tanky, right? Can tank it up forever. And I think Eyes on Mission, how did he steal the Baron? I think just somehow walked in and, like, QW'd it or something, right? Yeah, okay. Actually, just straight up QW. It fell immediately after, but you'd have to say it's certainly worth it, and that's the end that we're talking about, right? That's the way back into this game that Impunity need. And I think especially off the back end, your Driver finding that kill onto Hollow, it's a big deal.
Driver certainly will continue to get more and more menacing on this game playing. He's one of those champions that just at any stage you land one massive barrel combo and you've won your team the game. He's a very scary champion, someone you don't want to give gold to. And with this Baron steal, realistically you've delayed the game a whole lot longer. We do see Driver even getting some free time down in the bot lane. It is completely unanswered yet.
Now, do you give over this next dragon as Impunity? I think you do. I think you want to buy time for probably 3 items to come through on your mid and AD if possible. You might not actually get the time though, as Mission is looked at in this top side.
Yeah, a lot of presence towards this top side. There is nothing really to gain for either team up here. I mean, maybe
Pretender,
you can get the outer. Yeah, Pretender is getting awfully close, but he will get away with his movement speed.
I think there's probably nothing that can really be done with this Baron, but they have managed to close up a lot of the lead. I think perhaps if you can look to trade maybe even just mid-tower for the Dragon, it could be good for the side of Impunity. Any gold injection you can get kind of closes that gap, and I think once they hit 3 items, are potentially at that point where they can look for fights. I think though, the Orianna itemization is really, I mean I brought it up again, but it's really bad, to be honest. There's just so much MR and so much HP, and just doesn't have the kind of required items against it. We'll now be going to the Void, but that then delays Rabadons even further. Admittedly, will be very strong against the squishy champions. If can ever catch Eminem, will almost certainly one-shot him.
And more importantly, arguably, very strong against the 26 HP Baron. We do see Subjugate here used on Hollow. He is a very fast champion, does manage to get away on that Nidalee.
Gage comes out.
Yeah, we see Sion going in. Alex goes over the wall. Gale Force used by Atlan. And we see Nature is just going to go down in the middle of the team. Solar Flare finds Alex on the back end, but nothing will become of that. And it looks like we will see Dragon going over to Frank Esports. They're now on Soul Point. Very scary for Imperial.
I am really surprised that Impunity felt the need to contest that, right? I think you're just buying time. Also as well, the fact they used what I guess is Nature's stopwatch. I don't think he had the Zhonya's completed. It feels really weird because I think this is just something you should be giving up and not worrying too much about it. But instead, try and make some half-hearted attempt to contest it, lose the stopwatch on Nature, and just give it over anyway. So it feels very strange.
Perhaps, yeah, and 2 minutes now until the Baron's up. It does look like Atlan will be going for that third item LDR, so a bit more damage onto Sion. And I suppose, ultimately, he is probably hitting that Leona and that Sion more than anyone else. So I don't hate the decision. Driver, as we just see there, is doing an immense amount of damage, so maybe look to him to sort of be this main person stopping the Baron. Potentially Mission, although, as you've pointed out previously, more going to be doing damage towards that Jace, Xayah, and Nidalee.
The Driver is just out here making money on bot lane. I mean, he is just farming up a storm. It's actually still down a little bit of CS, and it's kind of impressive how well Solo kills CS, right? It's actually 10 CS above the clock as a Sion, which a lot of Sions just end up grouping too much and never actually farming, but has managed to stay very strong here and is almost unkillable still, I feel. Even with the carries getting items, I still don't think it's enough, right? I don't know how much health Solikill has, but he certainly has resistances to back up whatever health he has.
We do see now Gangplank has picked up, I believe it is 90% crit chance, so if the barrel does land, it is going to almost certainly crit, which if it lands on a squishy, you're probably just out of the fight at that point.
3 items here though for the Jace as well as for Eminem on the Xayah. Feeling pretty good about that. I think Mission needs to try complete this Void before the next fight would be pretty big deal. Dragon's up in 30 seconds, and I think Impunity just want to kind of delay this if Mission can steal it again. I'm sure that would be good, but most likely going to be playing for this 4th Dragon fight in 3 more minutes. All 5 members around mid, though.
Yeah, looking for a lot of grouping. Here comes the Sion engage. Sion won't hit anyone, but Driver is in a very, very bad position. Does get the shielding here from Mission and actually gets away. Oh, he has been eliminated, sorry. And we see there, Atlan gets eliminated on the backside by the Xayah Solo, actually. Solo kill walking forward towards Mission. And I have to wonder, I didn't see exactly what happened to Eminem, but he is dead, and we will see probably some, maybe Baron pressure, but if not, definitely Sion will be taking down some turrets.
I think it's crazy. Both top laners actually play that fight really, really well, right? I think Driver on the side, despite getting engaged on, managed to trade 1-for-1 and deal so much damage to the backline. On the other side, Solo Kill, I think, tanked up the entire enemy backline for pretty much the whole time and didn't lose any health whatsoever. And take a look especially at the damage coming out from Eminem and Driver in that team fight. So let's take a look at this. Initial engage on a Driver is great. Driver can't really do a whole lot and is just zoned out on the side, does what he can. But then take a look at the rest of Impunity. It really just is Eminem and Solo Kill. Wow, actually, aggressive flash forward does get him killed, but look at Solo Kill. He takes no damage at all. Literally none. It's just full HP the whole time, and I think Frank Esports, despite the gold lead not being, as big as it was earlier in the game, I still don't think that Impunity are going to be able to kill Solo Kill before this 4th Dragon. And I think Frank Esports should just be able to pick up the Dragon Soul.
Yeah, I don't really know how Driver came away with how much he did there. He really got initiated on so hard and did, what was it, like 5,000 damage, the most in the team fight anywhere. I will say maybe a little bit too far forward for Eminem. If he didn't go down there, possibly can find more than they did. So a bit of a chance given there, a bit of a thank you from Impunity.
Sonya's being built here by Mission, so apparently does not want damage. Just wants a bit extra safety. I mean, maybe he just thinks Driver can do it all because, I mean, he did deal 6,000 damage in that previous team fight. But this is 3 items completed for the carries, right? Mission and Atlan both have it. Baron has started up, though, and it's pretty difficult, I think, for Impunity to get in this, although always have the GPR to kind of force them off it.
Yeah,
it's
and
getting very low.
solo kill raid boss. Yeah, GPR is used here. Solo kill goes on to Driver again, and Driver is just absolutely eliminated. Here's Nature in the middle. Atlan and Eminem sort of fighting against each other. Solo kill staying full health despite tanking that Orianna are. They are just chasing them off. Do they fall back here and possibly look for the Baron? I think that's probably the best play.
Yeah, I think Frank Esports should be able to do both the Baron and the Dragon here. Really, again, mis-executed from Impunity. Driver, once again, caught out, and this time is unable to trade anything back. And Mission has built pretty much to deal damage to squishies, but only finds the Oriole onto solo kill. And say what you want, I feel like Frank Esports are actually just outplaying Impunity. I'm not even sure it has anything to do with draft or anything else at that point. It just feels like straight up better macro and better team fighting.
I completely agree, and it's kind of concerning that you've just seen Driver kind of get caught out twice in a row. Just almost the same way, really. Just Sion initiating onto him, followed by the Leona here. And we do see a lot of positioning towards this Dragon. It is, of course, Soul for the team of Frank. Mission loses most of his health to the Shockwave. So the Shock Blast.
He does not have TP either, so he's just going to be forced to play out this fight on half HP.
Atlan does have some good guns to be able to do damage from far away, and Bloodthirster, importantly. Dragon does go to the side of Impunity as the fight starts off. Kaiwing is onto Atlan, but Atlan is shredding him right now. Solo kill also getting very low. 2-man Shockwave onto Pretender and solo kill, and that is a 3 for 0.
Just as I compliment Frank Esports' gameplay, it goes completely the other way. The Dragon is stolen again by Alex this time. And that buys them more time into this game. And the fact that they managed to win a fight from this deficit, as well as Mission starting the fight on half HP, it's a miracle for Impunity and perhaps the one they need.
Yeah, I think Kaiwing was kind of a bit ambitious going from the back line. I know he's been doing it for a bit of this game, but now that the LDR is finished on Aphelios, does die a lot quicker. But yeah, we really saw, I mean, Impunity playing that well, but maybe Frank playing it not as well as they should.
I'd really like to see a replay, because I definitely think that Frank Esports, right, we've talked about the scaling, but I think still should be strong enough to win these fights. And they also had the necessary poke land. So I'm not sure where it went so wrong for them. I'd perhaps wait to see what happened to Eminem, but Hollow...
Yeah, Hollow engaged on, and he is just completely caught out. That's a fantastic pick, and more gold, importantly, over to Atlan.
Wow, Impunity, the gold lead is now completely closed up. And I feel like it's back in their hands completely now. Although the Baron, it's still on the side of Frank Esports for 1 more minute. I want to see how much gold does Driver have. He's going to recall and spend a ton of gold. Sion actually goes out on top.
Yeah, Sion looking again for Driver, but nothing to become of it. And yeah, we do see a lot of shutdowns now on the side of Impunity. So as well as the scaling, and Infinity Edge, very importantly, just picked up by Aphelios. And you have to think that he is now in the position to really take over this game.
Yeah, 4... Those core items all picked up on Aphelios, right? The IE, the BT, and the LDR, as well as LDR now completed by Driver. It's starting to get away from Frank Esports, right? The carries have finally got the items they need to deal with solo kill. And I feel like when you get very tanky on something like the Sion, you're very tanky until you're not, right? Like, you're completely unkillable. But once these tank buster items come through, you actually start to melt pretty quick.
Yeah, and it is important to note that Frank Esports will, for at least the next 2 Dragons, have that sort of Dragon Soul win condition where their damage will improve so much by getting that. But they do really, I feel like at this point, they really have to try find it. I feel like that is now almost their main win condition. Although finding some of these engages they did earlier on in the game can also really net them a win. Obviously, killing off Driver early, potentially Atlan. We'll have to see.
Poke coming out from Pretender is good, but now with Atlan, you know, being this fed, and obviously had the BT a long time ago, it's going to be very hard to take out. I mean, you'll see the overheal shield in fights is just so big, combined with the BT. Just has so much lifesteal, and it's pretty much never going to get poked out. Really, you have to try land poke onto Mission, I feel like, is the only person it's really going to stick to. Maybe if you can take out Nature before he finds an engage, could be good.
Yeah, and while he will still be able to obviously lifesteal it up, Serpent's Fang has been picked up by Jace, possibly just meaning that when you go into the team fight, Aphelios won't have this like 600 health shield. So I do kind of like that itemization.
Okay, now 1 minute 30, right? I think this is Frank Esports' chance to kind of close out this game. If they don't get this dragon, I think it might almost be unwinnable for them, right? Like they're really starting to fall far behind compositionally. Hex Drinker on Eminem. It's kind of interesting. I feel like you shouldn't get hit by Oreo Gragas if you use your ult correctly, but you know, perhaps a little bit of respect paid over. And this should be both teams looking to group up and control vision. We see on the mid wave already. I mean, Atlan's overheal shield is going to be crazy. I think watch for that in the team fight because I'd be surprised to see it fall low. Oh, barrel connects.
Yeah, barrel does. 2 barrels connect, and Kaiwing's chunked to half just as, you know, just as everyone's setting up for this dragon in 50 seconds time. We'll recall. We'll be able to get back out on the map in time. But we're seeing really the impact these barrels can now have.
Yeah, 5 members on the midway for Impunity. It looks like they're the ones actually getting control. Alex has chunked out a bit, but has a bit of sustain. Nature not going to face check that bush, wisely so.
Yeah, and we have Solo Kill just repeatedly sort of charging up that Q in that bush in case someone comes to ward. Will still take a while to go down, especially with the Jax show. And if he finds a good engage, I definitely feel like that's Frank's win condition. Nice bit of poke out onto Driver and Nature here.
Watch for the Oriole as well. Could be big at this stage of the game. Is obviously very, very scaled up. And Dragon, I think, can be started. Impunity, they have the better position.
Yeah, Alex body slamming into a bit of poke. Definitely not what you want just as this Dragon spawns. And the initiation does come through, but immediately flashed out by Solo Kill. Does use the shield. And Atlan is currently untouched. Dragon is still being pressured.
Gameplay all comes out.
Yeah, Hollow flashes in, and it does go down. Very important to Frank as we see the team fight erupt. Eminem kind of in the back line. Driver can't get him. Alex picks off the Nidalee in behind. Solo Kill looking. Massive ult there by Aphelios.
Yeah, he has so many chakras.
Oh my goodness, Solo Kill might just live, but that Moonlight Vigil onto Eminem in the backline was massive.
Wow, I think that... Oh, I feel it's good for Frank, sort of. They managed to get the Dragon Soul, right? At the same time, look, 10,000 damage dealt by Atlan in that team fight. I mean, he had such an insane team fight. And also, with the Ori shield, with all the overheal BT shielding, I don't think he ever really dropped below maybe 80% HP. And completely puts the team on his back. I mean, look at the damage graphs there. Insane performance from him in that team fight. You know, 10,000 damage compared to Eminem's only 3K. He's going to back off here.
Yeah, 7 seconds was the time until Kaiwing spawns. So it does back off. Probably going to head towards that Baron. And honestly, I do kind of favor the trade for Frank because they did get this Infernal Drake. And that's a huge amount of power gain, especially for this poke, right? Well, obviously, not so much onto Atlan. He can heal it up. But landing it onto Alex, onto Driver, and onto Mission will stick a lot more than it did.
Yeah, so they managed to kind of survive the initial engage. And then I think everything is actually used to kill Driver on the side. Like, I think right now, if you kind of look, Driver, I think, gets kind of caught out a bit over here. But during this whole kind of time, you actually notice that Atlan, he just never lost health, right? He's still full HP, has the Ori shield, and after that, like, all the cooldown's gone, and the fact that he's still alive. Also, really nice ulti. I didn't even notice that in the fight. I mean, really, really well played by him. So... yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think you're right. It might be slightly better for Frank Esports because they get the soul. Also, Atlan does not have flash for this team fight. But this, I think, is perhaps your last chance to win a fight here as Frank before this Elder.
Yeah, Atlan, like everyone else on the Rift, all don't have flash. He does have the cleanse, which could be an important factor. This is going to be a lot harder now, actually, for Impunity, considering they have lost this Dragon Soul. Have to see if they can get enough pressure, maybe find a pick to start up this Baron.
Yeah, or perhaps want to just delay until the Elder. Although they have a lot of control over the Baron already. Mission is starting to build towards the Rabadon's last item.
Yeah, and Driver finishes off his GA, so that's really good. They can't really focus him anymore because he will just respawn afterwards.
The poke from Pretender lands on the Atlan, but is instantly healed back up. Has so much life steal at this point in the game. Both teams once again kind of positioning for that team fight. Dragon's up for another 3 minutes, but Baron, goes down in just a few moments for either team here.
Yeah, and we see there the Jace Shock Blast really is hitting onto Nature now. He is still like slowly regenning up, but if that does land onto Nature, he loses a lot of health as the Baron is started up here. But again, we've seen this. Gangplank and Orianna is so hard to do this against.
Ooh, it's getting pretty low though. Frank Esports, they seem to be pretty hard committing to it, down to 5k.
As we see Sion go and Solar Flare used, only hits Nature, Explosive Class completely misses. Ellen is not really able to get off any damage here, not the perfect guns as Alex is going down on the side to Kaiwing. Stopwatch is used. Driver 1 HP, he will go down, as will Atlan, and I feel like the game is just won here.
Might be over, Driver's dead.
Mission trying to do what he can. Atlan responds and is... Can he do it? Eminem comes back and finds one more. I don't think they can end, but heroics there out of Atlan to sort of save this game.
Oh, Eminem. I think, yeah, Mission has to TP. Okay, so it's going to be a 1v1 in the base, and I think Mission should be fine to keep this game alive. But it's very, very close. Yeah, Eminem, he was looking for Mission's base, but can't quite find him. Did TP out. The inhib does go down. The Baron remains alive. I mean, so much damage once again coming out. Actually pretty impressive that Sion managed to even deal 6,000 damage, being that tanky. But take a look at the replay. So I think initial engage is actually not too bad. Nature did manage to stop it, so the carries are still alive. But like you said, not the perfect guns for Aphelios, and the Oriole goes wide as well. And Atlan, once again, kind of saves the game. Deals so much damage here in this team fight. Oh my god, actually did so much to the backline as well, just with the flamethrower. But 2 GAs lost there for Frank Esports, or sorry, for Impunity, and I believe Frank managed to pick up the Baron off the back of that as well. Also, really nice barrel by Driver at the very end to kind of save that team fight.
A lot of heroics there, and we will see Summoners kind of coming back up now. Flash is available for pretty much everyone. Eminem very shortly, as is Atlan.
1 minute left on this drag, and the GA is actually sold for Atlan, so does not need it at all. Obviously, it's going to be on CD, so it wasn't going to be useful anyway. Rabadons is still not completed for Mission, so not going to be quite as strong as he'd like. I think he's buying elixirs, probably thinking that every fight is going to be the last, and then it just turns out not to be. But yeah, I mean, this is it, right? This really is the last fight of the game. I think whoever picks up this Elder probably just picks up the win not too long after.
Yeah, and Atlan importantly does pick up the QSS for this fight, so doesn't have cleanse but has replaced it with that, and honestly will do a bit more damage if he is able to hit. But I feel like he wants to look to get rid of these guns, although maybe he's purposely chosen these, as it does offer some initiation and follow-up.
Ooh, engage goes wide.
Yeah, Flash Zenith Blade misses, but some nice poke onto Nature here by Pretender.
And Dragon's in only 5 more seconds. The mid-wave has been pushed in. Driver's going to go answer it, but has TP and ult to get into this team fight. As soon as Driver shows, though...
Massive shock blast onto Atlan. He is now 1 HP, and he can't really heal it up as well. Solo kill does go forward. They're really pushing Impunity out of their jungle, and it feels like they're just going to go back and start on this Dragon. Atlan really needs to find a way to heal up here.
Yeah, I don't think he can get access to a minion wave. A lot of engage tools have been committed though. Atlan, he has to find someone, perhaps even the Scion, to heal off of.
Yeah, Pretender getting a lot of poke down on the side.
I think Elder's just going to get picked up.
Yeah, Elder's just gone. You definitely do not want to fight now.
They're going to try back away, just try and live into this Elder. If anything connects, someone will die on the side of Impunity. TP comes in the base as well, I think from Sion?
Yeah, Sion just trying to get this over and done with, and it looks like it's a very smart decision. Doesn't quite hit the knockup, but it's just flashed onto Driver. Atlan has gone down to that Elder Dragon. Driver will be following, double kill there for Eminem, and this will be the game. Frank Esports really pulling it out, and they get sole position of 3rd now.
Wow, Frank Esports, they do take the game after 44 minutes of gameplay and 40 kills as well. It does go their way, and I think, honestly, very nice by them. I think they got pretty hard draft gap by Impunity, but for the most part, just played the team fights better, and I think, you know, across the board, had a really solid performance. I also think, you know, question for me around Mission. I think the setup in this game, perhaps not the best, right? I think the first strike could be greedy. I think no Leandries and early Void kind of meant that he did very little damage for a long amount of time. And yeah, I mean, Driver as well, like obviously had a pretty good performance, but was caught out crucially a couple times, right? So Frank Esports walk away with the win. But man, if this is what we're gonna, is this like a preview of playoffs? Because if we see a best of 5 between these teams, I mean, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah, it's certainly very exciting for this game. And I want to point out at the end there, Pretender really set them up for success. And a large part because of that Dragon Steel that we did see come through by Hollow. Really landing those Jays sort of shock blast, even hitting Nautilus would chunk him down to half HP and made that Elder almost completely uncontestable.
Yeah, it was a game that kind of came down to the wire multiple times, right? So many of